Hello.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
I feel nervous. I always feel nervous at the beginning of Zoom calls. It's excited, nervous, but still a little nervous.
Yeah, what's the
Gotta
fe
take some, gotta
and
take
what's
some deep breaths.
what's the feeling under it?
Hmm, excited with a
Hey, Dave.
tinge of fear.
Oh, hey, David.
Hey,
Hey,
I
where were you last time?
I know, just been super busy.
Too cool for us now?
Things keep popping up, and but I did catch the replays, so
Oh, good.
yeah.
Well, seems like we mostly have people here that are here on the normal time, which is very interesting. Um, so, all right. It's funny, you change the schedule, and here we are. Anybody have anything that they'd like to share?
I've been learning so much and just can't believe that circles are so beautiful and fun and
Yeah, so
I,
tell everybody what's
oh,
happening. Nobody has
oh,
a clue what you're talking about.
right, sorry. So we one of the last calls that I had done with Andrew, we were looking at in my movements how a lot of times I do half movements and not complete things. And I started to see a pattern in my life of not completing tasks, not finishing things. And it went with my life. The movements matched my life.
and this
Also,
was something and this was something that was just like the nails, just kind of it was like at the end of the call, just kind of like a random little thing, right? I mean, we it was like a few minutes that we talked about this.
and then it's just become this huge thing. Like, and I'm just so blown away by it because then I got into grass. I saw this pattern.
Hold on.
Okay, okay, I'm
You
going.
know, you got
Okay,
into grass. Wait a minute. You're doing the devil's lettuce now?
yeah. Okay, so back to the full circle. So Andrew said, for me to start moving in as many full circles, throughout my body, like, just anything I can do to move. And I definitely needed it in my hip area. It was so sore to just move my hips. It was like they were calcified and stuck, which I was, and I'm getting out of. Uh,
So
but the
let's have you show people. You could do it sitting down. You can just demonstrate it with your hands. Just let people see the difference. You know, show people what you were doing, and then just show the new choice you made.
um, so that was what I was doing, you know, just very little like around movement or fully circling. It was just kind of a stuckness. So now, and I find it's so therapeutic for me. I want to
Yes.
do it. And then I was driving the other day through the desert, and there's prickly pear and stickery stuff, and I was just like, my spirit and I soul was just like, let's go do circles out there, and let's just I don't it just it didn't matter that there were prickles. It just, my spirit was so, it just feels so good, and like Andrew said, any which way I can do circles, it's just changing my life, and I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
Okay.
like, what?
Yes. So let's talk about this. So this is going to be more cinesomatic stuff for you guys. Usually we do a bit just more on the book concept. But one of the things in cinesomatics is based on premises in the book. Hi, Julie. Of how you do one thing is how you do anything, as above, so below. And so what you saw Elaine just talk about is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So let's just play with this a little bit. Before we even get into therapeutics or cinesomatics, we want to begin looking at things symbolically. It's kind of a paradox, mythologically, storyly. So on one hand, we are looking to stop the stories, to end the mythologies that are running our life. But on the other hand, we need to begin to interface with ourselves through symbolism, through these archetypes, through these mythologies, as our fundamental language. So this is why stories and mythology, not cinesomatic style, but in normal parlance, are one of the most powerful things there are, right? Stories passed down through generations that we hear, tales, the Greek, Roman, Babylonian, religious, all of these mythologies, Hindu, Egyptian, all of these different stories still resonate with us, even thousands of years later, completely different cultures, they still impact us. Usually more than just, hello, this is the truth of life, right? There's something about traditional story that is so powerful. And it's because it's how we are, right? The archetypes of human consciousness, the collective unconscious, is all symbols. Think about it from a practical place too. Symbols cross language, time, and space. If something was true in the collective unconscious and it was something that we all had access to, it couldn't be in a learned language, right? It just doesn't make sense that if all cultures have to understand it, then it's not something that is a written language only a specific sect can do. So if we think about it practically, it makes sense that before language, before words, before written communication, we have symbols as this underlining continuity. So as you begin to look through that lens, in a way you're sort of piercing a veil. You kind of take on this perspective of looking at things symbolically, when you could also think about it of letting go of the language models in order to see, right? So sometimes some perspectives can help people depending where they're at in different ways, right? Personal development, adding more to yourself can help some people at certain places, and also subtracting what isn't you to get there. Building out of building a clay pot or painting out of an empty canvas versus seeing the chunk of marble and chiseling away everything to get to the thing that's inside of it. So both can be helpful depending on where someone is in their journey and their process. So use whatever works until it doesn't. And so, all right, so we got symbolism, we got archetypes. We're seeing the world through this mythic lens. Okay, so with all of that said, that's to prepare you for this question. Symbolically, what do half circles represent? Symbolically, What does not making complete circles represent? Pipe up. Just yell them out.
Not willing to have closure,
Okay, great.
not wanting to have endings.
Broken, linked, or something.
Oh, just go. Just yell them out. That's okay. Go for
Uh,
it.
Maybe an imbalance at one part of yourself.
Okay, imbalance.
The yin yang, yeah.
Like a phase, like phase of the moon or something like that.
Oh, okay, great.
a lack of connection.
Okay.
Maybe something that was from the past or the future.
You guys are okay. So these are all great. You guys are very, very powerful thinkers. Let's get a lot more simple. All great answers. Let's like first grade stuff. Imagine you're a child. Just practically circle, not completed.
Incomplete.
Smiley face.
Incomplete. Okay, smiley face. All right.
Broken,
Half a pie.
Broken, half. Okay. All right. Cycle, incomplete. Okay.
not whole,
Not whole. Okay. On partial. Right. Incomplete. Partial. What else? Right. It's not continuing. It's stopping. It's not making a full circle, full rotation. It's open-ended. It's not closed. There's no cycle. There's no circuit. Right. The circuit isn't completed.
Maybe it's sort of dead. There's like a deadness because it doesn't make that connection.
Okay. Anything else?
Or a barrier,
How so?
some sort of,
Something blocking
veil.
that circle from being completed? Okay.
yeah, like a hidden veil or something. Or with children, maybe like a gate's been put up and they're going, I want to get around there. Like I'm going to get
Sure.
around there.
Oh,
And
okay. Maybe
broken.
bypassing, broken.
And even as much as it could be blocking, it could just be so open-ended that it's, there's too much space.
Yeah, it's too open-ended, perhaps, right? It's so open.
Leaking.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. It could also, right? It may be a bowl, right? It could hold something. Yeah.
lacking energy or dissipating.
Excellent. Yes, it doesn't have enough energy to complete the full thing. All right.
Maybe if it's like bars, like if people think it's a one line rather than a circle, because they're spreading it out. You're spreading yourself too thinly, maybe, or something like that.
Okay. Great. All right, so you guys get the idea. Now, this is what I'm doing with your movements when you do cinesomatics. And this is how you start to see your movements. Okay, so Elaine, how many of these things, probably not all of them, but how many of them resonated with your life?
A lot. The deadness, no circuitry,
Incomplete.
incomplete, partial,
You kind of run out of energy. Yeah.
walking, yes, and even the laying down flat could be my dead baseline, like there's no, emotion and all that stuff that makes life beautiful and worth living, and that's what I was actually experiencing when I was thinking I want to do circles. It was like I was living a moment, and that's so rare for me,
Yeah.
It
So-
was flat. So
So-
yeah, one of those. Wow.
Yes. All right. So this is one of the powers of cinesomatics. Is that all right? So you understand these things symbolically. Okay. You can recognize some of this stuff. Now, the next step is to identify it in the body. Or actually it's kind of the opposite. You see the body movement and then you figure out what that represents symbolically. But we're kind of working backwards here. All right, so, and you guys can try this if you'd like. Find ways to make partial circles. Move in incomplete cycles. However you want. What would that feel like?
Weird, because it doesn't want to complete.
Yeah. What else do you guys sense?
A stuckness.
Like a heavy weight or something that's holding you from moving
Okay.
forward.
Barrier, yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's almost like I'm noticing I'm afraid to come back to square one. Like I'm afraid that if I continue the circle, I'm just going to end up where I was.
Great. That's a sleeper hit you got there. Really good. So you guys, go ahead, David.
Feels like I'm avoiding like a certain part.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can do this. You know, you're doing it on purpose, right? So this doesn't necessarily mean that you only do half circles in your life. But for Elaine, that's what it did. So we watched her. You guys can stop. She was dancing. She was moving, and she would twirl and not do full twirls. And she would look and only go halfway. And I said, "Oh, you're not completing the cycle. You're avoiding it." And there was a bunch of other stuff, specific to her. And so that's how this shows up in the body and what it represents. Now you'll notice each of you has a little different feeling. You all have your unique resonance, right? Each one of you have your own set of stories, your own myths, your own patterns, your own fractal of perspective of life. And on one hand, that is what makes you unique and special. On the other hand, it can also reveal the particular ways in which you hold yourself back, you're stuck, you're suffering, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you just kind of take a few moments here, you can probably just tune in to each person and say, oh, just from this exercise in how they did half circles and how they did a limited motion, revealed what that meant for them. And everybody said something a little bit different, right? And so from there, you get to see for yourself and for others, oh, that's how they relate to that archetype in their life. It's your current relationship with that archetype in your life. And there is a certain archetype. Okay. Arc. There you go. Half circle. Archetype. All right. And that reveals your relationship to that archetype. And so that can be functional. It could be dysfunctional. It could bring you success. It could bring you failure. It can reveal all sorts of things. When we are doing this, it's important to not judge, right? Nothing I said was good or bad or the wrong way or the better way or the worse way. Or this is just how you relate to this certain concept. And so you extrapolate this to the light and the shadow. And you start to, as you do this work, you start to say, oh, this archetype of sadness, of grief, of loneliness, of defensiveness, of self-betrayal, whatever it is. Oh, this is how I'm relating to those concepts in life. And believe it or not, there's functional and dysfunctional ways to relate to even the shadow, right? What could be a dysfunctional way of relating to shadow material?
Avoiding it.
Avoiding it? Yep, great. Judging it? Condemning it?
Banishing it.
Banishing it, shoving it down, pushing it away, trying to get rid of it, cutting it off.
Denying it exists.
Denial, excellent.
Indulging it.
Fitting
Ah,
it to one.
yeah, you get to see right on the other end, right? Indulging in it, wallowing in it, right? Letting it run you, being a victim to it, or denying it, pushing it away, right? What'd you say, Julie? I think you're muted.
Fitting it to one side so the other side doesn't ever get energized, or so you only use it. You're not willing to bringing it into everything. That section.
Yeah, like a bias to one side. Sure. Great. All right, flip it. What are more functional ways of relating to the shadow?
Getting curious about it, getting to know it.
Yeah,
Feeling it.
feeling it. Yeah.
Opening
Danielle's
up
like feeling it. Fuck you. What'd you say, Elaine?
opening up to it,
Opening to it. Yeah. Facing it.
facing it,
Expressing it.
Expressing it. Yeah.
Accepting it.
Accepting it. Yeah.
I
Allowing it.
think taking it as a whole thing, as a wholeness, rather than just itty bitty bits at a time, or just taking it as one complete.
Yeah. How can we say this?
You're letting
Yeah,
it
there's a
sort of
certain.
draw
Yeah,
away,
not.
like
Yeah, yeah, not throttling it. Like surrendering, I think is a good way. Yeah. Surrendering to it completely. All right. Great. So,
loving it in a
yeah,
way.
loving it. Yeah. So you guys get the idea here, right? Now that's oftentimes easier said than done. All right. So with all of that, make full circles. Circles, full circles. Completed cycle. Yeah. Keep going. And as you do it, just look at the screen and notice that everybody is doing something different. And it looks like everybody is doing a complete circle. All right, now go in the opposite direction. Reverse it. Right, getting to relationship with both directions, forward and back, the cardinal directions, up, down, left, right, front, back. Okay, good. All right, now stop. So what are some of the qualities? Let's start with this. What are some of the physical qualities of completing a circle? Not symbolic, but the literal physical qualities that you just did.
Flowing.
Okay.
Easier.
What was that, David?
Easier.
Okay, so it was easier for you. Why is that? Momentum, you think?
Just feels freer.
Freer, okay.
Complete.
Complete.
Whole.
Whole. Why whole?
Open.
Danielle, why whole?
Because it's completed its cycle.
Why is that whole?
Because it has a beginning and an end, and it's connected. Each side is connected.
Okay.
So it's part of like one.
Okay. It's a whole unit. Okay. Who else was saying something?
I said open.
Okay.
Uh, Fluid just has that flow, that fluidity.
Fluidity. All right, let's go back to open. So explain more, because if you make a complete circle, some people could say that this is closed. It's a closed loop.
Yeah, I was feeling an openness in my body as I was moving in a complete circle. It felt like a clearing, like a clear and open space, like in my body.
Okay, so it creates a container,
Yeah,
an open space.
like a hole, like
yes,
a
like a cup, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
like the spiraling, maybe spiraling like upwards rather than downwards, or spiraling.
So were you okay? Well, that's a little different, right? So this is a circle, right? This would be a spiral. A spiral actually isn't a closed loop. It's more advanced, right? It's actually full circle, but on the layer above it. Spiral staircase, double helix, right? It's not bad. It's just not what it is, right? It's actually a 3D. It's a three-dimensional movement, right? It's the well, it could be a four-dimensional. It could be in time as well, right? So a completed cycle moving through space and time would be a spiral, which is what we're doing in space. So it's actually a pretty awesome esoteric thing, metaphysical thing. So try this. Let's just play with that. So what would a spiral feel like? What would something like this feel like compared to this? Because this feels different, right? Do you guys feel the difference between this and that?
Yeah, we like going up a slide or down a slide or up a slide,
Okay.
which isn't possible really to go up a slide.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I feel more power in the circle. That for me, that just feels more powerful, more um, energizing.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, you're going to generate, yeah, because you just kind of build this momentum up. Here it's going to require another dimension of movement. Yeah, okay. So there's a difference, right? You can just, what that difference is, maybe for another time, but you can feel that there is a difference moving through your life. So Elaine, for example, for now, I don't know. This is just how we can apply this, right? This isn't necessarily true with you. This is an example of how we practically apply. Oh, I was on this call, and you just had us move in circles, right? How do you actually, what does this mean in your life?
Yeah.
So, for example, this could be that because you've just not closed anything, you need to be in this energy for a while, right? You need to be here. Maybe it's a few weeks, a few months, a few years. And then maybe when you have this embodied, maybe you can bring in the spiral, because this, you now may be stuck on a hamster wheel, right? Because it's easy to have this be stuck in a loop. I actually, I have a client that I worked with 2 days ago, and this is actually what came up without the details. Basically, it was, what's the difference between closing a circuit and feeling like you're in a complete fulfilling loop versus being stuck in a loop, right? You're in a complete cycle versus being stuck in a loop. It can look, right? It's the same sort of symbol, but it feels different, doesn't it? Just take that, everybody just take that on. What's the difference between being stuck in a loop versus completing full cycles?
Momentum.
Okay.
Really, you build momentum, like you either have this re-energized by it because it's building up momentum, rather than just staying at one speed, like
Okay.
whole life.
Frustration.
In which one?
And being stuck in the spiral loop. It's like you're on a hamster wheel and you want to get out and you're stuck in it.
Yeah.
Feel smaller.
Smaller.
Trapped.
Yeah, so all right, now compare that to being in a complete circuit, in a fully connected circuit, in a cycle. What's a practical example? The seasons, right? Nobody feels stuck because the earth is going through 4 seasons. Says, oh my God, we're here every year, 4 seasons. Oh, when are we going to get out of these 4 seasons? Some people do. Some people feel like that, and then they tend to be very, reactive to the environment. But you understand the symbolism here. what makes one stuck and the other in accord with the natural cycles of the earth and the universe and life?
For me, being stuck is like being aware that I'm in a place that I don't want to be and being resistant to where I'm at. Having like, oh, I'm stuck and I should be somewhere else. I want to get out. And then the other one, being in a circle, is an acceptance of the cycle and not necessarily being in resistance to where I'm at.
This is amazing. Let's go with this. Let's go with this. All right. So what do you think, just from what you said, or anybody, a potential secret to life, to getting unstuck, could be? You literally said it.
Not resistance.
Acceptance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
acceptance.
Moving
Yeah.
the blocks. Yeah.
Yeah, if for you the only difference between the two is one you're resisting, rejecting, and the other one you're accepting, how might that be able to help you in your life? Yeah, so that applies when you feel stuck in a loop. There's other stucks, right? You could just have a barrier in front of you, or be lost or confused. So related to this specific archetype. So do you have anything in mind? Are you feeling anything specific around this?
Me?
Yes.
Mm. No, not
Okay.
really. I can relate this to a lot of different areas in my life, but nothing like specifically is coming through right now.
Okay. So in one of those areas of your life, can you imagine what would be different if you made this shift? What would change?
I would feel a lot more relaxed. I've had this stuck one area that I've felt stuck in is relating to like career, life purpose, and I've I've seen myself kind of repeating some patterns, but mostly it's been thinking like I should be here or I want to be elsewhere. And when I have taken more of an accepting approach and also kind of like just trusting that I'm where I need to be in this cycle, I feel way more relaxed. And seems like things tend to flow into my life a little easier when I'm in that state.
Great. Anybody else? How might this apply to your life? Before Elaine, we're going to come back to you. We'll make a full circle, don't worry. Come on, you guys can laugh. It's okay to laugh at my bad jokes. You can send me an invoice, don't worry. David, Danielle, what's going on? What do you think? What do you feel?
Being in and out of relationship, like Neva was saying, rejecting, like being in relationship with it or not relationship with it, like withholding, blocking, feeling versus feeling, and not having to make anything of it, just being in relationship with it.
Back again to control as well. Yes, you want to have the control, but you have to just let it keep moving around its cycle and come back. It'll come back around to you whenever time.
Yeah, we do some fun stuff with this in the advanced work, and when we work with actual pictorial symbols, ancient imagery, some of the major arcana, things like this. And there's one of the Wheel of Fortune that we use, and it is about this whole idea of these cycles. I talk a little bit about it in the book as well. So all of these symbols and ways of relating to them have a massive impact on your life. You could just imagine someone who never makes a complete cycle. You listed it out, right? So, Elaine, back to you. We'll come full circle. Uh, what's been changing? What difference have you felt between the incomplete way of moving versus making these complete circles? What's felt different in your body, and then you can go back to sharing about what's been changing for you.
Yesterday it was really beautiful to feel in my body my urge to just go run in the desert amongst thorns and just go in circles, and that feeling, like just that alone was opening. And usually a lot of times I'm just flat dead. So to have this journey, like, oh, I just want to go do this, and it just, that's just so
Okay,
beautiful.
so say that again without changing your voice.
Um,
Did you notice how
so
you
that is where I
left
went really
yourself?
high. Okay. So it's so beautiful for me to feel that. Um, and that was just so strange. And then I also, okay, some other things I was feeling yesterday, and it brings me back to some of the comments on what the full circle would mean. It was this feeling of, if you're really thirsty in the desert, you haven't had any water and you're just about to die, but you get some, and the water makes this circle in your mouth when you're just gulping it down. And I felt as if my whole being was that circle, and the water was just coming in and it couldn't fill me up. It was just like the dam broke, or my deadness broke, and whoo, just coming down. And so I felt that. I felt
The life force coming back into your
yes.
dead body. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I felt like as I was driving down the highway, I was like, I'm just taking off all these clothes and I'm running, just like there was, just all this
Okay,
stuff
so
that I had on.
say that again.
Okay.
Go into your body rather than up out of your body. And you're going to feel the difference.
As I was driving down the road, I felt that I was just throwing off garments and feeling lighter, freer. Um,
You can still have the same energy. So
okay.
you're kind of dampening the energy. The
Okay.
enthusiasm and energy is fine. It's just leaking out up here because it's uncomfortable being down in here.
Um, so as I was driving down the road, I felt uh, just this like leakage of all of these clothes and jackets and just flying off, and me just running down the road and all this stuff coming off. And it was beautiful to feel that as well.
What does
Uh,
that symbolize for you?
Freedom, release,
Stay
uh,
in the feeling in your body.
just pure joy to be there where I can feel, that's, I didn't ever even realize that's what I was doing till later. I was feeling um it just makes life so much better. I've just been living really flat and nothing matters. And I wake up in the morning and it's just like, oh, it's another day. God help me. That's what I would say a lot of times. And I was a victim. I was, stuck, and it was miserable. So to be feeling these things, and then we haven't even gone into what's been happening, but it's just, I just can't believe it. You know, the movements are doing this.
I know you don't. Nobody believes it.
And I can't wait to do my circles every day because it makes me feel good, and I'm getting results, and it's just like wow. Um, but it was so fun to feel, and it's kind of like, I guess if you just live a flat life, it's just boring and dull. But if you have these emotions coming in and out, it adds the variety, the peaks and the rises, and it just adds so much. And um
So
I
did you? So you, Elaine, and the rest of you, do you get the sense that I felt there was something underneath how she kept modulating her voice away from it? There's this beauty and the joy that also has pain, right? There's this pain and this grief of how you've not let yourself experience this, and how your body isn't used to feeling this freedom and this play and this joy. And so you kind of, by doing that, you're sort of leaving behind the gift, even though it's very uncomfortable. You're doing this in front of people and it's on its own uncomfortable. You all could see that when I helped guide her into staying down in there, how much beauty started coming out. How
The
wonderful.
spontaneity,
Yeah.
the spontaneity of just her, you sharing, it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
You could just see it made you feel.
Yeah, is that another way to say it is the stopping the avoidance or stopping the censoring. Censoring and self-critical, self-aware, self-conscious, right? That self-consciousness is this sort of being aware of how the external space is looking at you. It's kind of what it means, even though it's kind of a misnomer. But being self-conscious is like actually bringing in other people's view on you and how you appear. And Elaine, you weren't doing that consciously in your head, but seeing how just the pattern, right? Just your neural pathways are always to, right? Because it's a bypass route.
Yes.
Right? You're like, oh, there's some mud here. Let's go around. Let's go up here. And so you're literally doing it with your voice. You're bypassing with your voice. This stuff's amazing. Right? How you do one thing is how you do everything. You're bypassing with your tone, right? When you stop bypassing with your tone, you stopped bypassing emotionally. And what you found is actually something really wonderful and beautiful. It's literally what you've been wanting for,
Yes. Gosh. What we do, the mechanisms and it's just bizarre. Wow.
It was really interesting. It was really interesting because I was thinking, wait, why is Andrew trying to stop her from expressing her feeling through her voice? I was like, isn't she excited? And isn't this just the natural way that her voice wants to come out? So I was like, why? That's weird. And then it clicked. I was like, oh my God, yeah, trying to stay instead of trying, like maybe this different change in tone is avoiding or trying to escape something. And then I could like see what was trying to be escaped from emerging. And I was like, oh my God, this is wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a trip. Yeah, what we do, just these different ways, it's all there.
It certainly makes you see that you look lighter, like when you feel like you're happy and then you're lighter, and that sort of buoyancy. When I was in the circles, I felt like, one of those buoys you see in the sea or something, and I'm bobbing. Like my circle was more like a bobbing person,
Mm.
like bobbing in water. I was thinking of a bobbing, doing my circle as like a bobbing thing. I don't know if my life, maybe I am like sort of popping in and out or something, but not really going full into life, like sort of bobbing around with whatever everybody else is doing. Or at times, the circle itself, to me, I was thinking of more like being in an ocean and I was sort of bobbing around in the circle. So
Mm.
it was sort of going bobbing.
So something that you could play with, is doing the opposite. You're all up here, so the opposite would be keeping this still and moving your lower body, bobbing around with your feet rather than your head. And so that could, again, not really here to do feedback, but just a little bite. If you feel like you're not moving somewhere, well, your feet are still, and if your feet are stationary and you're going like this, what is it kind of? It's like one of those punching bags, like boing, 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 right? So it's like if you want to go somewhere, what do you have to use? You have to use your feet. So each part of our body represents something symbolically too. It's a bit more advanced. But if you just think practically, a lot of this stuff is so self-evident. This is how I know, like, this is something. Because every time I tell this to people, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Once I explain it and show them, they're like, oh, that makes total sense. It's self-evident. Just people don't have eyes to see. And there's some biblical phrase, right? It's like, kingdom of heaven is here on earth, but people don't have the eyes to see, or whatever. Something like this. And that's kind of what that means. It's like everything that you need is here. It's in you. It's around you. We just have so many layers of stuff. That's just, we aren't in touch with reality. Great. All right. So go ahead.
Could there's something that keeps coming up just with relating to the circles is I noticed like when I was doing the half circle motion, I was afraid of closure. I was afraid of repeating something. But then when I was doing the full circles, it was like instead of closure, it was opening, like almost like a portal. Like, wow, there's this new portal. And it was completing a circuit. Like I think that you said that,
Yeah.
Andrew. and it was, yeah, it like opened this circuit and allowed the life energy and allowed the life force
Yeah.
to be flowing. And I was seeing this too or hearing this with Elaine too, like as you're doing more complete circles in your life, there's this like abundance of life force and energy coming through now.
Yes.
So it's just interesting to me that I was afraid of completing the circle because I was afraid of closure, when actually completing the circle is creating so much openness.
Yeah, it's a generator, right? You guys know how generators work, right?
No.
Right? That energy spinning, right?
It's like a coil.
Electromagnetism. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the magnets and the coil and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Then you can be all sprung like a spring that's going to sort of be
Yeah.
strung to.
It sounds like you. You just look like you're about to be sprung as a spring. All right, so Elaine, what are some of the things that have transpired from this? This has just been a week, maybe a week and a half you've been doing this.
Yes. There's a little patch of soil out here, and I've always wanted grass. It kind of just came to me. I want grass. And then I started to question it, thinking,
Hold on, explain to people what you mean and where you live.
okay, yes,
Right.
okay. Yeah, so I live in a desert, so
Okay.
there isn't a lot of
Context,
grass.
yes, very important.
Context, yes, sorry. I know that sounds, yeah, so there's grass is just not here very much unless you really tend to it and care for it. Um and so what's left is rocks and stickers and so if you want to have the nice grassy, you have to care for it and plant it and water it. So a lot goes into it. And I was questioning why I wanted it. And I finally decided, yes, I do want it. And the process to start getting it, I had to clean up broken glass, which had been sitting there for months. I had to start weeding it. I started to look at where I can plant some more trees to make it nicer. I'm just showing up to my space, creating a better area. As I started to do that, then I thought, well, I need to get sod so I have an instant grass because I mean, gosh, growing grass is going to take so long. And my daughter told me, Mom, just, save the money and let's just plant it. Let's watch it grow. And, to me, I finally went in that direction. It's like, yes, let's just watch the grass grow. I mean, this would be fun. Um, and it's not going to take so long. I have this thing where, getting dressed is going to take so long. Growing grass going to take too long. So it getting through, I'm working through a lot of
Yeah.
these things that are coming up because I'm showing up to life. Um, and then
So hold on. How does that relate to these incomplete cycles versus the complete cycles? The two things you just said, this long waiting, all this stuff.
um I just was never able because I would always go into, oh, it takes too long. Then a lot of times I wouldn't do it. So I
Yeah,
just,
too long.
yeah,
Right.
too much or yeah. So yes, I guess that's what that is. That energy is just able to,
Right.
yeah.
So something else that you said was really interesting. I always like to, as I said earlier, looking at things through the lens of these different myths throughout history, all sorts of religions and whatever. I use all of them. What came to me as what you were saying was a certain biblical sort of feeling of being out in the desert, right? You've been out in the wasteland, right? So there we talk about the Jews and Moses out in the desert. There's also the wasteland motif that's in King Arthur, Parsifal stories, the wasteland motif. And turning that into, right, the garden. Literally turning it into garden, into paradise, bringing earth green, right? So there's a certain symbolism here that you're partaking in a certain archetypical story, right? An oasis in the desert, right? All of these sort of
That really reflects within me. I mean, yeah. Okay,
I
I
had
know
no
you're
idea. Tell us, come on, tell us.
So I'm this flat, dead
Yeah.
person, and now there is something growing in me, and something much more beautiful than just flat and dead. And um, yeah, it's growing, and you
It's
probably could have said it better.
no, you said it great. It's interesting because I see a certain sensuality turn on with you too as you do this. Yeah, probably from all those
I
hypnobids.
know.
Yeah. Uh,
I'm moving like, okay,
good.
I embody. Yes, I get it now. Starting to like be okay moving sensually and um I still have
Right.
a ways to go, but yeah.
The lushness, right? When you hear lush, there's something green and fertile and certain. There's a certain sensuality, like an earthy sensuality and lushness. So these are all connected. Just most people have no idea that growing grass in the desert is connected with your sensuality or your life force. Yeah, or circles. Yeah, but you see, all you had to do was start moving your body in complete circles. You didn't have to study for 10 years. You didn't have to do 15 years of therapy or get degrees. You literally made a new choice in your body.
And I haven't even planted the grass yet.
Just like you
I was just
haven't,
like,
you haven't did the nails. And remember when you didn't even do the nails and you had all of this stuff change for you.
And then the other day, I wore these pants that I just always felt like, oh, they're too much. They're big bell bottoms on the bottom and they fit really good on the top. And so I couldn't believe all the people. I run a store and we are a health food store. And so I had, I think, 5 or 6 people come up to me and just want to talk and say, I really like your outfit. I just think I'm too old to wear stuff like that, but you can pull it off. And so there I am like, oh no, you can do it. You look great. You've got the body, you can do it. So all these people, I'm
Elaine,
supposed to
could
see
you
their
imagine
stories.
you saying to an older person, you can do it, you've got the body for it?
This was a younger person.
Okay.
But I actually did that today because I had another lady come in. She was the same one that was trying to save me the last session. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
But she said, "Oh, you look too good. That's not fair." And I said, "You can look good too." And she's like, "Well, I'm too old for that." And I said, "You're pretty. I mean, why do older women just think they can't dress nice, they can't look nice?"
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. There's some element of like, no, you're making that choice.
Yeah, it's a lot. Cultural stories, cultural conditioning, mythologies. But you're right. It's a choice. I mean,
Because I see some older women and they dress nice and they
yeah.
come in and I mean, it's
Well, you can, and you have compassion, right? You know what it was like to not dress,
yes.
Yeah.
So
So
I feel like I'm
you can be
encouraging.
the example now.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're the light.
But then I had 2 people come up and they wanted to make sure I knew about God. They were really God.
Oh my God, those bell bottoms! You must, you must be a Satanist. All those discotheques.
Well, they actually really liked it. They just wanted to make
Oh.
sure I knew. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, no, maybe they
felt the
wanted you on their
opening.
side. Yeah, they're like, we want the bell bottom girl.
But I actually encouraged one of the Biblers. She said, I feel encouraged. I feel, what did she say?
Inspired.
Inspired by you. She's like, wow.
Oh, great! Look, you're probably doing more God's work than they might be. Yeah.
I know. I had
Yeah.
one lady, she said, well, I hope you know God and what do you believe? And I said, I believe in all of it. It's all the foundational truths of all these different, and she, what was my point? She just didn't, uh,
Yeah, I would. You know what? I think this is good for you. I would start trying to play with it. Like be more playful with people, a little more pokey, a little more playful rather than rescuey.
okay. Yes,
Right.
I
So
definitely.
we know that you can rescue. It's like we don't need, you need practice doing the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's other people where they're very pokey and they're very sarcastic, and we want to help them be more inspiring and compassionate or whatever it is. So yeah, have more fun with it. Stop.
Okay.
You don't need to rescue them, right?
The
Have
other
fun.
night when I was doing circles, I started to have fun and I was
Yeah.
making my daughter laugh. She was just like laughing. It was like, wow, it's so easy. It was just coming from me. I wasn't trying to make it happen. For the longest time, I was like, how do people have fun? It's so hard, but
Guys, literally on some of our first calls, she's literally saying this. Like, having fun is so hard. I don't know how to do it.
so,
This is a
well,
miracle.
circles are, yeah, I feel this energy
Yeah,
just,
great.
centrifugal force just
Yeah.
Now
every.
you need to be a little rascal and you need to
Yes.
come tell us about that.
Yes.
Yes, okay, next step.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think it's in Jewish the Yatza Harad, or as Alan Watts calls it, irreducible rascality.
Oh,
Yeah. What's
that's
that
me.
little the little sparkle in the eye, the little glimmer, the little smirk that says, "I'm onto you. You can't fool me." Yeah, I see you.
But
It's
as you become more comfortable, yeah, I don't, it just seems like everything's opening up, and
well, it is.
it
I think.
is.
Can you guys see this over the past few months? How much is opening up for her?
Complete transformation.
Wow.
Yeah, keep
I,
telling her.
I,
It's hard for her to believe, right? You understand.
it is. I'm
Forward,
like,
how
well,
many
I have put on
decades?
makeup. I'm doing
Yeah.
more. Maybe that's,
Yeah, that's
but
what it is. Yes, it's your makeup. You got us all hoodwinked. Yeah.
Are you gonna do hula hooping with your daughters? Like the hula hooping, like
I think I will. That popped in my head thinking about the grass, and I was like, gosh, I could do hula hoops. This will be all kinds of new hoops and
Yeah.
you know, formations of full circles and um I feel really good with that. That energy is, I guess, exactly what I need. I can feel it. Um yeah.
Well,
And it's just so funny to be doing this movement and change my life. I just
yeah.
it's
Yeah. It's
oh,
really hard. It's not hard, but how do I say this? Um, it should be easy, but just because of how we are in consciousness, it's not the most seductive cell of the work to say, yeah, just move in full circles and it's going to change your life. It's shake your hands and I'm going to see
and
all
would
your shadow material. Yeah.
and would you need to tell some people that do move in full circles that they need to do half circles? I mean, would
It's a
that
good.
be
It's a really good question. Yeah, it depends. That one maybe not specifically. We would try it, like we did here. We played with it, so we tried it and played with it, and you saw a couple people discovered something like, oh, this is how I relate to half circle energy. So it can be worth doing to explore these things. That's why in the archetype assessment, I'll do something like show me selfishness, because there's ways to show selfishness that could actually nourish somebody. And because they're afraid of being selfish or being seen selfish, they're not taking anything in their life. And so for them, right, doing something that feels selfish may actually nourish them. So that's one example. Half circles, there could be. I think, let's see, a practical example of what that might look like would be, let's say, people that are unable to not finish things, right? So a compulsive need to complete it. Like if somebody has a compulsive need to have to do the full circle, I'll say, all right, well, stop about an inch before you do it. And so that would be useful for them. And then once they could penetrate and heal that, then eventually we want, to be in relationship with the whole thing. But when it comes to the natural order of what's more functional, right? Having complete circles, or complete cycles. So when we do giving and receiving archetypes and cinesomatics, this is also a circle. And so, let's see, two of you have done this, where you get to see giving. Well, is there a cycle in it? Are you giving and it's only one direction, right? If you do this, it's not really the full cycle of giving and receiving. Giving and receiving is a cycle. And so when you give, there has to be the feeling of a full circle in it, even though you're only doing the half movement. Right? Give. There you go. Great. But if you do it without that full circle, right, it feels like this. It doesn't feel like anybody's receiving it. But when I say go like this, boop, there you go. Whatever it is, placing it, that's handing it or whatever it is. Danielle's really good at giving. So those are instances where you can take the same concept and you can actually feel it. So it's not just the surface level, it's the feeling. So after you get this reference point, Elaine, after you feel this in your body, you're not going to need to just go around spinning in circles all of the time to do this. You'll do it for fun because you're spinning, let's say dancing, right? You're going to be able to do the movement now when it's appropriate. Sometimes just going around in circles isn't the thing, right? Maybe it's something else. So in the beginning stages, it's about getting into relationship with everything and trying from different angles to sort of eke out, to sort of debug if there's any shadow material, if there's any dysfunctions, or if there's any stuff in it. So for example, we want people to, ideally, the direction is twofold. Well, you can think of it in two different ways. You can think of it as expansive inclusion, or you can think of it as small and big, and then also aligning to growth. And let me explain this because I've never really said this before. So when we're doing the handshaking, all right, so the embodiment assessment is this handshake diagnostic. So we have people shake their hands. And one of the variations of it is go bigger and go smaller. And that has a correlation to things in their life, right? How do they get bigger in their life? What happens? Or how do they get smaller? And how do they relate to those different things? Well, we don't just want people to go bigger, right? That is not the answer. We want people to be able to go big, medium, right? Low, small. We want the full range. To be able to go fast and sustain feeling and be functional, and also go slow, right? Slow motion, fast, whatever it is. And we want to be able to be in relationship with that full range. So it's not just about only being big and only being fast and only being on one side of the scale. So that's why, I mean, you can look at it in two different ways, right? You expand your range, which is including the full range, or you could think of it as also being in relationship with the small and the big while aligning yourself to growth. So what I mean by that is our relationship to, let's say, making money. I haven't really met anybody that says they want to make less money. It's just one of those things of they may change their career and they're okay with making less money to do something else. But I've never met anybody that says, "Hi, Andrew, I make too much money. I want you to help me not make that much money." I mean, it just never happens, because abundance is a mindset. It is not a measurement. Wealth is a mindset. It's an archetype. It's not a measurement. You can measure dollars, you can measure homes, you can measure net worth, but there's a feeling of wealth that I've seen in people that are poor in Thailand, in Bangkok. They feel tremendously wealthy and they have almost nothing. And there's also people that you can feel financial wealth, but they're empty inside. So for things like, let's say, money, someone's relationship to, let's say, small money versus big money, we want that person to be able to be in relationship with both of those. Because perhaps if someone's, let's say, avoiding or scared of small money, they might, let's say, gamble and only gamble on these big things. And they don't want to look, let's say, at the small numbers. And so maybe they lose track of their finances because they don't want to be caught up in all of the bookkeeping, right? Maybe bookkeeping feels small. And so they give that to somebody else and they don't have a clue. And maybe they're vulnerable and it's a takeout. And vice versa. And the opposite, you can just, that's a little easier to imagine, right? Of people being afraid, to scale and get bigger and be more visible or whatever. So all of this being said, this work is about high functionality, healing, and getting into relationship with these things. And so with that, Elaine or whoever, right, with the circles, as you are now comfortable with it, you can play with different qualities of it. You can change the speed. You can change the scale, right? Change the range. You can change the direction, right? You've done that already, right? What does it feel like going this way versus this way? You can change the part of the body, right? The feeling. So this is the more feminine. How does it feel to move it in yin versus yang? Right? What could that feel like? There's these different variables that you can start playing with. And as you do that, you expand, right? You grow, you fill out that archetype. Because you could just make money and just be like, bink, right? Oh, but there's this whole breadth as well. You can fill out in all dimensions, right? You can feel this taffy, right? This taffy coming out of my fingers, right? This is energy. Right? There's substance here versus, geez, how do I do it? I shut it off. Right? You feel how that both feel completely different. It's it spent so long trying to get in the feeling that shutting it off is a little weird. But you could feel the difference, right?
And then I started to go into the infinity sign,
Yeah,
like
I think I saw Danielle doing that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So which is a different symbol, a different feeling,
Okay.
and there's also a similarity to it, right? There's a crossover, right? There's something about the infinity sign that also feels like a full cycle, but it means something a little different than a circle. And so what you're doing is you're just exploring these. You're playing with it. What are those differences? Through feeling. And as you explore those differences through feeling somatically, they transmute and they extrapolate into universal principles. So one of the most amazing things that I've encountered doing sessions with clients is emergence of spiritual truths, right? Things like there's no one else out there. That is apparent when I see groups and people moving, right? Giving and receiving, the cycle, right? These cyclical things, right? This is a universal principle. It's a universal truth. We see it. The yin and yang symbol. I mean, that's just everywhere. And the small dot in each side, the black and the white and the white and the black, is in what I just demonstrated half hour ago about giving and receiving, right? Each is contained in the part. The whole is contained in each part. So it's holographic. And then you just see that becomes a spiral, and right, you look at yin and yang and spiral that out into infinity, and here we are. So that's the metaphysics for the day. All right, so what are you guys learning? And we wrap up today's early session.
I'm going to really focus on the feelings when I move. I've just been moving really thus far and getting changed, but I'd like to start trying to feel what I feel in each movement.
Yeah, and go into the subtleties. Now that you're in relationship with it, you can start exploring it, right? Now you don't have this block. You were able to penetrate this block in your life, not through thinking about it, but by moving in a new way in your body. We did not spend 4 sessions on, Elaine, why don't you complete things in your life? We didn't even talk about that. I just said, oh, you're not completing cycles and circles in your dance and your movement. Practice that. That's literally all you did, is you started completing circles in your body, and then it transpired in the rest of your life. So now that you've done that, which is amazing, I mean, this itself is amazing, start playing with it, right? If you want more mastery, that's not going to give you mastery. That's going to help you embody something that's more functional. If you want to take it to the next level, you do what you just said. You start feeling into it. Okay, what does it feel like doing it like this? And one of the neat things is it may be a while before it makes any sense, and it may never make sense. It just may be a feeling, right? Like a portal. This doesn't make any sense, but how does a closed circle create an opening? Well, for you, that's what it felt like. And then if you go into that energy of doing a circle, right, here's an opening. Oh, okay, a circle, right? A circle. Oh, people dancing. A break dancing circle. It creates an opening. Oh, and so through that feeling and trusting it and exploring it, you can sort of, I don't know if it's inductive reasoning, where you say, oh, well, where does that feeling show up? Oh, the breakdance circle. Oh, maybe a portal opening. Oh, okay. And that may not be a way you normally have thought before. I didn't think of that breakdancing analogy at all until just now. It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, people creating an opening. Oh, they make a circle to surround someone. It's an open. Oh, okay. Which then adds another layer of understanding. And you just start doing this with everything. Every movement, everything, all these symbols. And the world and life becomes so rich. It's just, there's richness, a lushness. Everywhere you say, oh my gosh, in the wiggling of my fingers, there is so much wisdom. That's the quote in the book, right? There's more wisdom in the movement of your body than in your entire philosophy. I think that was Huxley or somebody. That's my interpretation of it. And there's multidimensional interpretations, literally like the cells and the atoms and the molecules and all of the things going on. It's amazing. We couldn't construct that with our own mind if we tried. So this is a new way of relating to life. People come in and want to do, they want to sign up with me. And, they're just like, oh, I'll just fix my problems. I'm like, we can. But really what this is about is a fundamentally new way of relating to yourself and to life. One that's so much more rich, that's so much more real and abundant and open.
Can I share something?
Yes, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This week in general, a really big concept for me that is just, I've been seeing actually like things happening in my life has been taking these what feel like huge concepts or big lessons that I want to learn or integrate, and being able to experience them in very small ways. And one example that I've seen this week has been, or like the big concept has been taking up space and feeling worthy to take up space. And how this has been coming through for me this week is how I walk across the street when cars are waiting for me to walk across the street. I noticed that if I was waiting to cross the street and a car stopped for me, I would like duck my head down and like run across the street. And I felt like, oh my God, I'm being such an inconvenience. Sorry. Like, thank you so much for waiting 1 minute for me. Like, I just felt, really like unworthy. And I couldn't take up that time. I couldn't take up that space. Or if I was at a crosswalk and I had the option to like press the button to make the light turn red, I would like not press the button. I would just wait for a natural break in the traffic and then dash across. Like, I didn't want people to stop and wait for me. And it's been happening. It's really been funny. There have been a couple of times where like people have forced anyway, what I've been trying to do is
get out on the road, go.
do seriously, there's been some interesting things happening with that. But what I've been consciously doing is every time that cars will stop for me to cross the street, I like don't slow down my pace. I walk like with my
You mean you don't speed up?
posture. Yes, yeah, thank you. I don't speed up. I walk how I normally walk. I like don't slouch over, and I just practice taking my time and taking up the space and knowing that it's okay for them to wait for a minute for me to cross the street. And it's like
That's
been
a
one
big
of those
street.
really, it's been one it's been one of those small things that
Yeah.
feel incredibly profound. And yeah, I've had a few things like this week that have been, yeah, really juicy.
Yeah, and then you play with that, right? And then you can also see the other side, people that feel entitled. And they walk across the street in a very different way, that feel entitled. That doesn't feel good either. They start holding hostage, right? They make it all about them. And so you're doing the opposite. You make it not about you at all. And so, right, there's a place in between where you're in a relationship where you're not making it about you, you're not making it about them. You're respectful to them and you expect to be respected, and right, it's you find there's a feeling. It's kind of like a impossible table that uses tensors, where if you haven't seen that, look it up. There's called impossible tables, tensors, and it's like how is this staying up? But there's an equilibrium between the yin and the yang, when there's no dysfunction or shadow material or any of these weird things going on. Another word for it is in the flow, right? You're just in the flow. There's not even a story. You get to a point where you're not even conscious about it anymore, and they're happy and you're happy and everything works and it's fast and it's worthy and respected, and yeah, so that's a really great example of how do you actually apply this? Right? Practical. And so how has it felt? Were you nervous when you first did it? Did you feel like they were going to yell at you, or what came up on that process for you that you were able to start healing and move through?
What came up was my deservingness to take that time and to take the time that I need to not rush through life. I found myself feeling sorry that I felt like I was making someone wait for me.
Right.
And I didn't feel worthy of that. I was prioritizing, some stranger's ability to cross the street faster, get to where they're going, and like not acknowledging my own need to cross the road in my own time.
Great. Thank you for sharing. All right, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much.
Allowing
you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
everyone have a great time.
Oh, we didn't hear you, Julie. Say it again.
Have a great week, and just allow anything in your life. Yes, seems to be working.
And thank you for the early time. It was great for me.
You're welcome. See you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.